Hey y'all, Nick Pomeroy here with PR Equipment here in Currens, Texas today. Wanted to kind of follow up. So one kind of cool thing is we did a video on these 5M tractors here last week and got a lot of positive feedback. And so I wanted to dive just a little bit deeper into these 5M tractors and talk about options, right? So we looked at two tractors last week and this is one of them. This is a 5M 145. And I want to dive into that just a little bit, talk about all the options and ways you might want to spec your tractor. And not just that, but we ordered in probably too many of the 5M 145s. So we need you to come buy a couple of them. So basically there's a lot of different ways to spec these. And so I want to talk, these replaced the 5700 and 6700 Global Series tractors. But when they did that, they kind of moved the models around just a little bit and added a few options, as well as kind of leaving some of the stuff you used to be able to get in place. So we kind of rolled several tractors into one series, but actually made more options. So first and foremost, we've got four different tractor models horsepower-wise that are available. So you've got your 5M 105, which replaced the 5710, the 5M 115, which replaced the 5711, the 5M 135, which really replaced the 6713, the 5M 145, which is actually kind of a new model for us. We didn't go up that high before. We had the 6712 and the 6713, but we never really sold many of the 6712s. Now, I might have went a little crazy because I ordered in like 7 of these 5M 145s, kind of fairly well loaded out. But I'm pretty excited about this product. A lot of folks really like the S-Series tractors, but the price point was just a little too high and maybe just a little too fancy for some folks liking. So this 5M, I think, really gives us some options. And of course, with that extra, even just that extra 15 horsepower, we're talking about running mower conditioners and silage balers a lot more efficiently, a lot better than what we were doing before. So let's talk options. This happens to be a 5M 145. We talked about the other three models. Believe it or not, you can still get this in a platform, so if you choose to go platform. Now, I preface that with the fact that if you go platform, there's many fewer options, right? You're pretty limited on the options that you can pick, right? You're not getting a dyno shift on a platform. I don't even think you're getting cab suspension. Obviously, it's not a cab, it's a platform. But there's a ton of, you're obviously not getting isobus or guidance and things like that. So there's a ton of things that if you go with a platform, you're kind of limited on. But also, you more or less have 3 transmission options, or you could say 2 with 1 feature option. But so behind me here is the dyno, right? That's the 16-speed power shift transmission that we like so much. We sell tons and tons of these. It's been around for a long time, and we really like this transmission. But you also have the option for the 12x12, which actually was around before the dyno in the Global Series. So you can do 12x12 and, of course, brake to neutral. If you're not familiar with brake to neutral, which comes standard on the Dyna 4, but the brake to neutral allows you to basically step on the brake, and it will automatically put the tractor to neutral. So you've got 3 different transmission options that you can pick from. And of course, there's all the tire sizes and things like that you can pick from. Weights, whether you want weights on the rear end or not, is also something you can choose from, or maybe even a Vizio roof for the cab. Now I want to jump into what I would consider very kind of 5M specific options. So these are the things that set this tractor apart. And so we'll kind of start up front and talk about the LED lights. So LED lights is something that you can kind of pick between. We spec'd most of them with LED lights. I want to say it was $1,000 option or thereabouts. Maybe it's a little bit more than that. But about $1,000 option. I'm a big fan of LED lights. Obviously a lot less power draw, but usually a lot brighter. I really like them. We'll come around this other side and we'll talk about some I would say, loader-ready options, right? We're not going to talk about loaders. We'll talk about those in a second. But I want to talk about loader-ready options. So with this we now have a live third option. So when we talk about live third, that's that third function that we can use along with all other functions of the loader at the same time. If it's a diverter valve, we're going to be stealing like a tilt function to utilize the hydraulics for a grapple or whatnot. We'll be diverting those, like just as the name would say. However, we're speccing quite a few of them with the live third. It's kind of nice to have that from the factory. We've been doing that for a while with an aftermarket kit, but having that from the factory is pretty cool. So we talked about the LED lights. We've talked about some of the other features, but we'll walk around here and talk a little bit about the cab suspension functions. And really there's a few other things that come on the 5Ms, but we're really just talking options for right now. But the big thing is this cab suspension. You can get it with or without cab suspension. And previously, it was only available in the 5700D series. Now it's available whether you take a 12x12 transmission, whether you take a Dyna on the small ones, on the big ones. We used to not be able to get it on the 6712 or 13 because that wasn't a Dyna shift. It was only available on those Dyna shift options. So having this cab suspension is pretty cool. And if you've been around the 5700D series, you'll realize that, hey, it looks a little bit different. The mounting for the shocks is different. You got a couple little more linkages in play here. And one of the cool things is it gives us more lateral movement. So I'll kind of show you. This cab has a ton of movement now. I'm really excited about the updates that come along with that and having that additional cab suspension. Now, as far as PTOs go, PTOs are all going to be the same. You're going to have a 3-speed PTO. So you've got 1000, 540, and 540 Eco, all available. It's electronically shifted in the cab. Obviously, you've got to change your drive shaft, but you do have all 3 speeds regardless of which way you go. Most of the hitch, everything else is going to stay the same. One cool thing is the ecology bottle's kind of new on the 5M. Didn't really do that as much on the previous tractor. The flip caps, things like that. There's some differences to some things that we're doing. But one thing also to talk about, and this here again, it's an option whether you want it or not, but we now have the availability of ISOBus. Now you have to take the monitor to get the ISOBus, but if you're not familiar, this gives you the ability to plug a lot of implements directly into the tractor and you don't have to install a monitor. So for instance, our 4180 baler or our RB1 baler plug directly in the back of this tractor because it is ISOBus ready and you don't have to install the monitor. Much cleaner. Maybe you can install that monitor in a different tractor. To be honest with you, you can order your baler without the monitor because you already have it. It's just a lot cleaner and it's a nice feature. So we like it with the ISOBus. If we look up, we'll talk about the guidance, right? So there's 4 different guidance receivers, basically a Trimble and a Novotel, and then there's 2 different levels of accuracy. This one happens to be the Trimble on WAS. We didn't order, in fact, I think we only ordered 2 that were guidance ready. I don't think everybody's going to be looking to take guidance on this size of tractor, but it's pretty slick that you can do that. When you start talking about 145 horsepower, I think there is a little bit more interest in it. So we'll kind of come around here and we'll talk a little bit about things in the cab. So one other thing, I guess, before we jump up here is MF Connect. So if you're not familiar with MF Connect, it's basically our telemetry system. So you can view, let's say you have a fleet of these. We have a lot of folks that are doing this with like roadside mowing and things like that. With MF Connect, you can see what the tractor's doing at all times, as well as provide feedback if you choose back to the dealership. So we can track when your services might be due. If you have an error code pop up, we can be a little more proactive with that conversation. There's a lot you can do with the MF Connect. So as I was talking about before, you do have the monitor in here. Of course, you would have to have it to have ISOBus. You would also have it to have guidance because your guidance and that ISOBus functionality will be controlled through here. We talked a little bit about the brake to neutral button. Here again, it's going to be standard on a Dyna 4. It's going to be additional on the 12x12 transmission. The 2-speed hydraulic pump, that's very much, the 3-point controls are very much the same as the previous Global Series tractors. So there's, here again, tons and tons of similarities, but just a handful of differences. Obviously with the live third, you have 2 switches on the back of the joystick versus 1. Pretty simple deal. So last but not least is kind of loader options. And there is some, I don't want to say different loader options with these tractors, but more or less what the 2 most common loaders that we sold were the 3723 and the 3819. So the 3723 is a non-self-leveling version of this loader, with the 3819 being the self-leveling version of this loader. But now, of course, with the addition of the loader ready with live third, you got to get the kit that comes with it for the live third function out to the front. Currently, that's only available on these 2 models of loaders. So if you get the live third, you don't have the option for the 941X or the 946X. That being said, the 941 and 946X loaders are still available as kind of more of our economical version of loaders on maybe a classic tractor with a 12x12 transmission. But for most folks, going with the FL, because that does add that soft ride. Don't forget about that soft ride. Makes it a really nice loader combination, and allows, of course, a little smoother, especially during transport, or maybe you're hauling hay across the field. Just takes some of the bucking off of the tractor. Regardless, tons and tons of options with the 5Ms. So we can kind of spec them however you want. Now, we've ordered a lot of these tractors. It's a very popular series for us. Of course, we'd love to set you up with one, and we could potentially offer you multiple options on site. The truth is, for most of these tractors, you're not typically ordering them. We have a few customers that do, but most folks come in, check out these tractors, find one they like. And of course, that's one of the benefits of doing business with us here at PR Equipment, is we typically have some options when it comes to these 5Ms, because we do sell so many, we stock lots of configurations. So if you're in the market for a new tractor, kind of in this 100 to 150 horsepower range, I highly encourage you, especially, guys, if you're shopping Maxims or some of those Deeres, I'm telling you, you've got to check out the Massey and see what we get in terms of the drivetrain. There's just a lot more tractor here than what you're used to. I really like to put these up against like a Maxim and a 125. You're going to pay a lot more for that tractor, but we're going to give you a lot more. So I really, really highly suggest come check them out. I'm Nick Palmer with PR Equipment. Come stop by here in Kearns. Check us out here up in Canton. We are building a new store in Canton. Can't wait to provide you with some more information on that. We're hoping to be open spring of 2026. Everything goes as planned. We'll be ready to go there. So thank y'all.